is eNCA, is Michael Appel, who was attending that briefing. So, Michael, this is an issue that has been ongoing for quite a period of time, and the minister had 120 days to make up his mind according to the orders of the court, and he has. What informed his decision not to place him on parole?
So the minister has got to take two factors into account. Firstly, whether or not the offender is likely to re-offend, and secondly, whether the offender has shown remorse. Now, how they build up a profile of an offender is through psychological reports. They do victim impact assessments. They have the victims potentially meet with the offender to also deal with that issue of whether there has truly been remorse. And then they do a lot of psychological profiles. And it was found that of the two separate psychological profiles that were done here, that there is conflicting information. That is what Justice Minister Michael Masutha has mentioned, that in coming to this decision, it was the fact that there was this conflicting report between the two psychological reports that were done on Mr. Janusz Walus, as well as factors that were picked up in some of these psychological evaluations, the fact that Janusz Walus suffers from depression, suicidal thoughts, and is prone to explosive anger episodes. So obviously, would an offender be likely to re-offend or be a danger to society? That's where that question is then answered by those diagnoses that have been made about Janusz Walus. And he has said, obviously, that Mr. Walus, through his legal team, Julian Knight, have said that they're likely, very likely, going to take this straight to the Constitutional Court. He said that they have that right to recourse.
So it sounds a bit there, Michael, as if this is not the end of it all. You know, even if we put aside the prospect of an appeal by Mr. Walus and his legal team, but also the fact that the minister wants Mr. Walus to continue to be evaluated, and sort of the approach to be slightly different now, to involve both these experts.
Yeah, that's right. So he wants a reassessment within 6 months to be presented to him, and he wants these two psychologists to present a joint report this time, perhaps to remove any conflicting diagnosis that they may find. So they need to work together on a new evaluation that they will then present to the minister in his office and the parole board within 6 months' time, after which a new decision could possibly be made. Now, what's information we don't have on hand at the moment is whether Julian Knight is going to say to his client, all right, write out the next 6 months, have this evaluation done again, and then let's see what the minister says this time, or whether they are going to fight this immediately and apply to go straight to the Constitutional Court. That information we don't have on hand at the moment.
Michael, did the minister say anything about the remorsefulness of Janusz Walus? I hear the part about the likelihood to re-offend, but what about the remorsefulness of Janusz Walus in as far as all of this is concerned? Because, you know, he has, on numerous occasions, Mr. Walus, that is, expressed the feeling that actually Chris Hani was a dangerous communist that needed to be eliminated.
Yeah, that's right. On the issue of remorse, well, what are you remorseful for is the question always. And he's remorseful for having left Chris Hani's children without a father and for having created a widow out of Dimpo Hani. But he's not remorseful for having killed a communist. And he says that his actions at the time were politically motivated. So that is another factor that the minister and the parole board would have had to have taken into account. The fact that he's not distancing himself, and he's not showing remorse, and he's reconciled the fact that he's rationalized the fact that he killed Chris Hani because he was a communist. He hasn't shown remorse for that killing.
Just a final one then, Michael. We obviously now expect that this decision will more than likely be challenged. I mean, it's already been to the courts at various levels, the High Court and eventually the Supreme Court.
Yeah, so let's just take a step back briefly. When did he first apply for parole? It was back in 2013. So at that stage, he'd served 20 years in prison already, having been sentenced to death in October 1993. That was commuted to life behind bars in 2000. And then in 2013, he first applied for parole. It was only in 2015, April of 2015, that the Justice Minister then rejected that parole application. He then took it on a review to the North Gauteng High Court and won that. And the Minister then appealed that, took it to the Supreme Court of Appeal in August last year. I did attend those court proceedings where the court then said that that application needs to be reconsidered, go reconsider all the facts, give the SACP, the South African Communist Party, and the Hani family a chance to give their inputs once again. All of that has now been considered again, and it's a resounding no. But, of course, that leaves the door open. And as I said, as we understand it, Julian Knight, the attorney representing Janusz Walus, is likely to take this to the Constitutional Court on review.
All right. Thank you so much for that update. That's eNCA's Michael Appel out in Pretoria, tracking that story, that decision being made there that has been made by the Justice Minister Michael Masutha, not granting Janusz Walus parole.